They say a soldier never truly leaves the battlefield. But what happens when the very nation he fought for forgets him? What happens when the loudest cheers fade into silence, and the people he once protected pass him by without even a glance? In a quiet town in Ohio, there lived a man named Thomas Reed. He wasn't a celebrity. He wasn't in the news. He was simply a man. But once upon a time, Thomas had been a soldier, standing on foreign soil under foreign skies, carrying away a flag on his shoulders. Now, he lived in a small, rundown apartment. Neighbors often saw him sitting by the window, motionless, staring into the horizon, as if he was waiting for someone or something. He hardly spoke. He hardly smiled. The war had ended for the world, but for Thomas, it never truly ended. But it hadn't always been this way. When Thomas returned home, he carried dreams in his heart. Dreams of starting a small repair shop. Dreams of marrying his childhood sweetheart, Mary. Dreams of a simple life where he could fix broken things, and in the process, mend his own broken pieces. And for a short time, it worked. The shop opened. Mary stood beside him, her eyes filled with hope. Thomas laughed again, really laughed, for the first time in years. The townsfolk trusted him. Cars, radios, old clocks. He repaired them all, and for a moment, it seemed as though life had finally given him peace. But the shadows of war don't vanish with medals and handshakes. At night, Thomas's dreams became battlegrounds. He woke drenched in sweat, heart pounding as if bullets still flew past him. His hands trembled. His mind replayed moments he wished he could forget. Customers began to notice his absence. The shop closed more often. The bills piled up. And Mary, sweet Mary, grew weary. She loved him, yes, but love alone could not fight the invisible war that consumed him. One morning, Thomas found a folded note on the kitchen table. It read, "I love you, Thomas, but I can't fight this war with you anymore." And just like that, she was gone. The shop closed. The laughter disappeared. And Thomas slipped into shadows, unseen, unheard, forgotten. Years passed. Thomas tried to rebuild. He wrote letters to the government, begging for help. He stood in long lines at veteran offices, waiting hours, only to be handed another form, another delay. He called old friends, but their lives had moved on. His calls went unanswered. Every door he knocked on seemed to close before he could even finish his sentence. And so, winter after winter, Thomas remained alone, forgotten. Then, one freezing night, Thomas sat at a bus stop. His jacket was thin. His hands, cracked from the cold, shook as he rubbed them together. Beside him sat an elderly stranger with kind eyes and a worn cane. The man noticed Thomas's faded military jacket and asked softly, "Son, what's your story?" At first, Thomas said nothing, but the stranger smiled and began to share his own story. He, too, had been a veteran. He, too, had returned home to silence, to loss, to despair. But instead of letting the darkness swallow him, he found a new mission, helping other veterans who felt forgotten. The man leaned closer and said words Thomas would never forget. Pain is heavy when carried alone, but when shared, it becomes lighter. Sometimes our mission doesn't end on the battlefield, it begins after it. For the first time in years, Thomas felt a flicker of light. The very next morning, Thomas made a choice. He walked into a local community center for veterans. At first, he sat in silence, listening. But as days turned into weeks, he found his voice again. He began sharing his story, the pain, the loneliness, the struggles. And in doing so, he inspired others to share theirs. The man who had once repaired broken machines now repaired broken spirits. He taught younger veterans how to cope, how to keep moving forward. He offered comfort to widows, encouragement to the hopeless, and companionship to the lonely. And slowly, Thomas Reed transformed from a forgotten man into a guiding light for others. Friends, Thomas's story is not just his own. Across America, there are thousands of veterans who live in silence, men and women who gave everything, yet feel invisible when they return home. Their wounds are not always seen. Some carry scars on their bodies. Others carry scars in their minds and hearts. And sometimes, All it takes is compassion, a listening ear, a helping hand, a reminder that they are not forgotten. So remember, the next time you pass someone who seems lost, broken, or forgotten, stop. Offer a word of kindness. Offer a smile. Because one simple act, one moment of love, can bring forgotten soul back to life. Thomas Reed's story reminds us, heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they're the quiet neighbor, the man at the bus stop, the woman in line at the grocery store. They fought battles we'll never know. And all they ask for is dignity, kindness, and a place in our hearts. And maybe, just maybe, your kindness will be the spark that inspires the world.